Greetings, fellow armchair Imagineers! Tiki here.
And Blue Dragon 5.
And tonight we're talking about a movie that is just not controversial in the slightest. Yeah, we're talking about, I don't know, did anything come out against Joker this weekend that I can make a joke about? A la Mamma Mia? I don't think so. No, in all seriousness, of course, we are talking about Joker, which is, oh man, folks, it's probably the most hot button issue movie of the year. And let me just say, on a political level, I just don't feel comfortable talking about it. I think that both sides make good points, but there are kind of some opinions that I have that I don't know. It's kind of a touchy issue for me, especially for someone who is kind of like on the scale of, being socially awkward. And it's like, I don't know, there's some touchy issues there. So folks, we're going to try and keep politics out of this, keep this discussion to just, pure filmmaking. And Dragon, my God, I feel so disconnected from the critics because when I went to Rotten Tomatoes expecting a slew of praise for this movie, I got like, oh, it's Joaquin Phoenix, he's great, but the movie is shit. Dragon, I don't know what to say. I love this movie. I think this movie is a masterpiece. I think it's not only like one of the best comic book movies ever made, but also probably a modern classic of the Clockwork Orange variety. This movie just kind of like shines a spotlight up to our society and shows us exactly what's wrong with it. This movie is uncomfortable as hell. It's dirty, it's grimy, it makes your skin crawl, but I love it, Dragon. I love how uncomfortable this movie is. It's bold, it's daring. Joaquin Phoenix is just, I mean, he's just beyond. I mean, Dragon, I think he leapfrogs Ledger. I really do. I mean, I don't know. Like, I love Ledger. Don't get me wrong, and my appreciation for Ledger has only grown over time. But shit, man, this Joaquin Phoenix's performance kind of transcends comic book movies. It's just an amazing performance all around. So yeah, suffice to say, Dragon, this is probably my favorite movie of 2019. I would go out on a limb and say that. I mean, I just had a very, very memorable experience. Dragon, I got to watch it with my sister, and my sister was actually one of the people who was with me uh, when I went to go see The Dark Knight at midnight. Now, Dragon, I want you to picture a different time, all right? I want to picture a different time. Picture a bunch of people in Joker makeup singing Mamma Mia on the way into a midnight screening of a Batman movie. Dragon, those were much simpler times, 2008. Man, can we just go back to that? I mean, Jesus Christ. So yeah, Donovan saying this is a modern classic, and I can't help but agree with him. I definitely think so. Dragon, I'm curious. You are, of course, the more diehard Batman fan in the room, so I'm very curious to get your take on this.
Yeah, so Joker, I thought it was a very good character piece. I think Todd Phillips, he's outdone himself, and I think everyone kind of underestimated Todd Phillips. I think he did a tremendous job. The marketing already kind of instilled us with some confidence, and I feel the end product definitely proves that. Very much an Elseworlds take on it's very much like an Elseworlds tale on the screen done properly. You know, it's kind of the best of what it could be, kind of fully realized. It's very much a testament to the Joker. It's kind of like best equivalent I could say is like famously, especially around the time the Dark Knight came out, famously had this Joker graphic novel that came out, and that was very much the historic, like Joker centric, Elseworlds tale release. It was like kind of a one and done. It was kind of the Azzarello, Lee Bermejo, very much kind of Ledger look. First time they have like the cuts, basically cut smile into the Joker, that whole thing.
Yeah.
It's very much kind of like fully realized it was kind of a grimmer take, and of course, Joker is kind of your center focus on that in that regard. I feel like we've gotten something, not an adaptation, of course, because we kind of saw that in the Dark Knight in some variety, not like verbatim, but again, this feels like an Elseworlds tale on the big screen as like saying basically as a way of celebrating Joker, the enduring character that is the Joker, quite possibly the greatest villain in all of fiction. And I think he was very well represented here. It's kind of like the best way I could describe this film in short is it's kind of to especially the Bat fans. It would be that it's kind of the best parts of Gotham's proto-Joker story as a standalone film. That's kind of what this movie is. It's kind of the best parts of that story economized into kind of a really well-made, really well-shot movie by Todd Phillips. That's what it is.
I think it goes a lot deeper than that, Dragon, but that's a fair assessment, but I honestly think the roots are way more with Martin Scorsese than they are with Gotham, I think.
Well,
Like,
yeah,
this
look,
very much feels like a new Hollywood movie.
look, obviously there's a lot of Scorsese influence in this movie. I mean, the least of which is the king of comedy. There's obviously some Taxi Driver. I think the biggest one, like, yeah, there's definitely a lot of king of comedy. I mean, look at the image before us here. I mean, if we had a kind of a wider scope right now, you'd be able to see De Niro on the back wall there.
Oh God, yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
So I'm very much loving the movie. I don't know if I go as far as with the Ledger thing. I think honestly it's a mistake to compare the Jokers. I think with this one we've kind of hit a wall where, you know what, comparing the Jokers, and people are going to do it regardless. But you know what, I mean, each Joker kind of complements a certain film, and I feel Heath Ledger's complements.
I'm an idea.
Well, that's yeah.
I'm sorry.
My point is that each Joker kind of complements a film in a certain variety. You know, Dark Knight's a Batman movie where the Joker very much fits into that Batman that
Suicide
world.
Squad is a shitty movie.
I'm sorry, would you like to continue my point for me?
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
That's the thing. So basically, of course, Suicide Squad is kind of an infamous example of kind of a Joker hacked to pieces. Therefore, it's kind of, when is a Joker not a Joker? When you don't have a full performance there. It's kind of the age-old riddle of that one. And this very much, again, it's kind of if Joker were your protagonist for a film, that's kind of the performance you have here. So again, it's kind of hard to say, like, yeah, it leaps and bounds beyond Ledger. Maybe it doesn't quite measure up to Ledger. It's as good as a Ledger performance, but again, it's a question of which one's better. It's just you're going to be, it's ad infinitum. It's going to be, everyone has a different sensibility, and I'm sure you're going to have people walking in this movie. You know, you're going to have the mass public going in this movie. You're going to be kind of like, oh my God, it's so. It's artful, but it's kind of horrific. I don't know if I don't think Batman. I think it's something kind of for everybody. I think, like, I can show, I'm thinking more of the PG-13 Heath Ledger Joker. Everyone can kind of jive to. Where this Joker is very much it's a strong coffee Joker, but it's a good strong coffee Joker. You know?
Yeah, I mean, Dragon, that's the thing. This movie is kind of like in the same vein as like a Darren Aronofsky movie, where it's like it's a challenging sit. It legitimately is. It's like, this movie does things that do get under your skin and make you uncomfortable throughout the runtime of the damn film. But honestly, because it was a challenge to get through, I just felt more riveted by it.
The best Joker quote I've ever heard, I believe, was by Greg Rucka. He always had the best analogy for the Joker. I've told you this a few times, but I mean, I think the best analogy ever for when you get a Joker right is the Joker will make you laugh, and you're gonna hate yourself for laughing.
And that's exactly what this movie does.
Exactly.
All right.
All right, so I guess let's break it down. The main way to break this movie down, folks, is kind of like kind of looking at the arc from Arthur Fleck, kind of our, the Joaquin Phoenix, pre-Joker, to basically getting to the makeup and getting to the Joker, kind of kind of like, can you introduce me as Joker? Getting to that point of things, it's kind of like
something that they really shouldn't have put in the trailer.
Let me mention that real quick before we get into it. Of course, the marketing's been very, very fascinating, because I think before kind of let's just say the fear that kind of hit the presses about like a week or two before the movie's release. Up to that point, marketing was going phenomenal, right?
Oh yeah,
one of the best marketed things I've seen this year. And I tell you, it's the trailers. Even if you went into this movie knowing a direction where the movie, you pretty much, especially after the second trailer, you kind of knew where the movie was heading. You probably fill in the blanks. You probably kind of get like a vague timeline. I mean, even if you know where it's going, I mean, again, it was the experience, right? It's just the experience of getting there and living in it, getting to that point. I mean, Donovan's hyping up the third act, which we're going to get to. The third act is one of the absolutely probably the most phenomenal part of the movie. And when we get there, it's just very much, is this the you're so wrapped up in it. It's such an experience, such a tense ride getting there, getting from point A to point B. It's not about knowing the destination, it's about getting there.
No, I hear you. That's very fair.
All right. Okay.
All right. So yeah, let's start with the status quo. Of course, I mean, let's just talk about just Joaquin Phoenix just in general, because this is one of those things where Jeremy Jahns put it really well, where it's like you hear all these things about, a great performance, and you're just like, okay, like I'm going in and I'm expecting a really great performance. And Dragon, literally from the first moments of the film when he's applying his makeup, I am just chilled to the bone by this guy. Like, here's the thing, Arthur Fleck, he might have a tragic life, but I really don't think he's that sympathetic, just because I feel like he is a man that is so broken that he's almost kind of like, I don't want to say irredeemable, but he's kind of unfixable. You know what I mean?
But
It's like there's no hope for this guy right from the very beginning.
And you're right. And here's where the closest thing, like the twinge of sympathy. I can't even call it sympathy, but like the twinge of sympathy, the illusion of sympathy, if you will.
Okay.
The closest element you get from that, the reason you have some of that is because, again, he's so broken, yet he's kind of clinging to the hope of civility and just kind of like, kind of kindness in Gotham, which obviously that's the tragedy of the whole piece. We get to see that literally beaten out of him. The opening of the movie, quite literally, we see it beaten out of him. I love Tiki. I love how this movie, how Joker literally pops up on the screen for this movie, like the opening kind of the arc.
I love a good title reveal, and this is one of them for sure.
Him beaten in an alley for being just kind of like a happy, again, as we saw, again, there was more to it than just like happy-go-lucky clown just going about his business, twirling the sign. There was more to it than that, obviously, with the whole the fingers in the mouth and the whole a man who just struggles to. Basically, this movie, in essence, is about a man who the movie. Basically, if I were to sell the movie in one line about what the story is, it's that we learn this movie is about why the Joker laughs. That's what this movie is. It's why does the Joker laugh? That's essentially what this movie is. It's getting to the core of like why the Joker laughs when he does. What is he? Why does he laugh? And of course, there's many fascinating things.
The laughing condition is the best part of this whole movie. It's like a straight up master stroke of storytelling. It's like, I can't believe that I don't know about the comics, Dragon, you can clarify this, but no adaptation of the Joker has ever even ventured close to this territory. And Dragon, that's what I'm saying. Like the laughing condition is honestly one of the most uncomfortable things in the movie, and one of the most uncomfortable character traits that I've seen in any movie in quite some time. I mean, it is kind of that, it defines that under the skin quality that this movie has.
It's like, what if Jared Leto's Joker actually had legs to stand on, at least delivered at the end? That's kind of what we have here. It's like, what if like a guy who did all this research?
I don't even want to put Jared Leto's Joker in the same conversation as this, man.
I say that because, I mean, Joaquin Phoenix, he did his research, and as we were kind of talking about during the trailer thing, I think by the second one, I read somewhere that Joaquin Phoenix, he researched that this laughing condition is a real thing. It's called, the shorthand's PLC. I believe it stands for something along the lines of pathological laughter and crying.
Right,
so that's what basically, and of course, there's some documents, some people film themselves with this sort of thing. You can see it in action. Basically, people when nervous, or when people get nervous or stressed out, like just kind of like a reflex action, they at very inopportune times they will laugh to the point where it hurts, and kind of laugh when crying, and vice versa. That will happen to them, just breaking the fits of this. And again, that's kind of what the crux of the movie is. Like, why, again, we can have an arc for that even. Again, I was surprised seeing, like, I knew that was an influence. I didn't know how literal that was going to be translated into the movie. Like, okay, is he actually going to be afflicted by that, or was that just the influence for, like, how he would laugh? But no, it's like, literally, it's in the movie. I love that. It's in the movie.
I love the card.
I know the card feels. Here's the thing: the card feels one part Looney Tunes, one part just sad reality. Because it feels
totally.
Classically, when you have Looney Tunes, you'd have a character who can't speak, and they give you like a card or something, or like when the businessman, like Wile E. Coyote, when he comes to the door and gives you the card, and you kind of read it. We focus on it just to read. I don't know.
right.
Old school Warner Brothers just feels just right for the for this character. Just like,
I will say that you kind of hit on a really good point here. Is that the movie itself, in the best moments, feels like a disturbing version of old school Looney Tunes.
Yes.
Because it's got like that kind of like slapstick happy-go-lucky vibe in a very horrific context.
So, of course, with the alleyway beating I was getting here, I'm going to circle back. One other big thing we should hit with the laughter, too, is so with the alleyway beating, I love one that's set in an alley. And of course, it's big setup for something that happens in the third act, but also again, it's kind of a grand Batman parallel, of course. Just with the fact that
Sure.
Joker is kind of our whole story begins in an alley, very much like Batman's does, and of course that's with a purpose, but it's also just a really great note to start off on. It's like, oh man, like we knew this was going to happen. It kind of dawns you while it's all happening. Oh man, that's our title moment. Like this is a huge moment for this character. All right, and with the laughing, so something occurred to me kind of noodling on the movie after it came out, because again, you're kind of like, oh my god, the movie, they had to digest like all the great stuff that you saw, so a few things are going to occur to you. It's so basically this story is it's sad. You have a sad but good heart deep down, at least initially, deep down, kind of a good-hearted man, a man who's clinging to like hope, and he's trying to be happy. Has no idea how to do it, because he thinks, well, everything's miserable. What's the point? Is kind of where he's starting at here. But again, like he's making money for his mother. He's trying to, he is trying to do things towards a good reason. It's the fact that he's fulfilling a purpose that his mother his mother put upon him. Remember, like his mother always said, you can make people laugh, and there's so many great reads on that, Tiki. Think about it. A man who is basically his vow to his parents, essentially his vow to his mother. If you want to parallel it to Batman, yet again. Is that his purpose, messy and in adulthood as it is that he just wants to make people laugh because he laughs. And his mother, if I were a betting man, I would imagine his mother would try to rationalize why he has this laughing condition, and his mother would probably say, because you're going to make people laugh one day, because like laughter is this great thing, and that would of course dictate where his life goes, where he wants to be a comedian. But of course, in the interim, he's doing the other thing that makes people laugh. He's being a clown. So again, his laughter has defined his life, and that's where we start the movie. That's great.
Yeah. Okay, so let's see. So we talked about the job. I do like that he's kind of like the oddball at the job, a job that's literally like an agency for clowns, and he's the one that's just like that no one wants anything to do with.
Exactly, but he's also kind of like he's vaguely like the luck of the group, if you will, for a taxi metaphor here. He's kind of like, some of them like him, but also there is a distance between them.
Yeah. Of course, we get the Randall character who's going to come into play later. He gives Joker the gun to kind of like start off on his journey. At first just for protection.
Tell me you recognized him.
Randall?
Yeah.
Oh God, who is he?
It's Goran from Barry.
He looked very familiar. It's Goran?
Yeah, he looked very familiar.
Oh God, yeah, he did look familiar, Dragon. No, I didn't recognize him, but he did. I was like, I know that face.
I believe it's Glenn Fleshler.
Okay.
Yeah, that guy's really good here, and of course he had a decent role here. Of course, a very important role in essence, giving him the gun for protection. As you
I would dare to say that he is the center of maybe the best scene in the movie.
It's a
contender. It's a contender.
Oh, yeah.
All right.
So the point being, I love that the gun was kind of given to him in kind of in an optimistic sense of, again, like the closest thing to kindness. He only gets really 2 bits of kindness in the entire movie. We'll get to the second part a little later on in the movie, but it's like they're really like 2 bits of genuine kindness. They're actualized. Where guy gives him a gun to protect himself because it's a crime-ridden city. It's a negative. It's kind of a not like a happy-go-lucky gesture, but I mean it's a gesture like, hey, protect yourself. We have this brotherhood of clowns,
like looking out for each other. Yeah,
that's the thing. It's a brotherhood of clowns.
Right.
All right. Let's see. So then there's another aspect of Arthur we should talk about.
Yes, we should talk about the therapy. And this is just fucking very relatable, Dragon. The healthcare system just screws him over. And this is kind of one of the things I'm talking about with in regards to how this movie just shines a light on modern society, is that, man, it's a sad reality that my whole family is facing, and that the healthcare system is just fucked. And I don't want to go into details about it, of course, but it's a very troubling time we're living in with that, in that regard. I mean, there's a lot of shit wrong with our healthcare system.
Honestly, it's the burnout that's really sad about the therapy here. Is the fact that the therapist, it's like, here's the thing: a part of you, she kind of cares, but by the same token, she's seeing the reality of, like, I can only do so much here, and there's only so much resources, so much time I can really expend here with this guy. Where basically she's asking, as he calls her out on later on, it's like there's only so much that, she just asks, "How's your day? How are you? Have any negative thoughts?" All I have are negative thoughts.
That's definitely an endless frustration with me when it comes to therapy.
Precisely, and that's the thing where she basically, the system. I love that it's such a perverse take on Gotham here, where philanthropy only benefits the rich in this version of Gotham. Of course, with our status quo, because it's a very important hit, we're in a very miserable year one kind of 1980s New York. We're basically at the most crime-ridden point of New York's history, like late 70s, early 80s. There's kind of a political divide between kind of our upper crust, kind of like
I also feel like this movie does the Occupy politics better than The Dark Knight Rises does.
Yeah, it does. They're kind of starting there, and it's kind of, they have more time to focus on, so that's kind of why. But you're right. Yeah, we do better.
All right.
That's the thing. I like that there's kind of like we have the joke of philanthropy in Gotham, where Thomas Wayne, who we're going to get to, of course, he's a very big player in this story, and of course Thomas Wayne, the Wayne family, the philanthropist. Of course, the only thing they're kind of helping are the kind of like the rich college kids who are going to be the future yuppies of the '90s. That's really all they're doing right now.
Right. By the way, the people that the Joker is antagonistic to, the rich college kids that you speak of, Dragon, let's describe them. They are white, they are womanizing, they are male, they think that they own women. Isn't that kind of the type of person that people were afraid of in this movie to begin with?
Kind of, yeah.
I'm just saying, Dragon. I'm just pointing it out. Literally, the villain of the movie is the fucking people that like people. Anyways, you get my point.
I get where you're going there. I get where your head's at.
That's about as political as I'll get during this podcast. Anyways.
All right. Okay, so of course we spoke of. Let's talk about Penny Fleck here. Let's talk about Penny.
Okay, of course, Dragon. Of course, you know where but this is where the Gotham parallels come into play here. This woman definitely reminded me of Mrs. Cobblepot.
Mrs. Cobblepot.
But kind of like if Mrs. Cobblepot just kind of like lost her marbles, because Mrs. Cobblepot, she did kind of have it together for most of the run of Gotham.
Oh, she did. She was naive, but she was all together.
Right. But this is like what if Mr. Cobblepot was like, totally just way down in Alzheimer's land. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So the Thomas Wayne mystery with Penny Fleck is definitely a good kind of like, I love how that's sort of seeded its way throughout the movie, and you're just like, what is this Thomas Wayne connection?
Yeah, like basically she's very pro Thomas Wayne. Oh, he should run for mayor. He's such a good man. Again, it is really well seen there. She's just being a big supporter. Basically, she's not seeing the world that we just saw in the therapy session here. Where okay, we're the rich just keep getting richer, and we're not really like Thomas Wayne's not kind of part of the problem here. It's like and she's very in favor of him because she doesn't get the complexities of like, man, she hasn't been in the outside world really. She's basically held up in the apartment.
Right.
Yeah, but again, it's kind of the closest semblance of. I love that the closest semblance of happiness that Arthur experiences in the movie is kind of like with is via his mother and especially during a scene where they're watching Murray Franklin. So like that scene where they're watching him together, that's kind of close semblance of happiness. And of course, that's a benchmark that we're going to basically explode later in the movie. We're going to take these two elements, and we're just going to blow them up a few times.
And so, speaking of that Murray Franklin scene, we get the first bit of Arthur kind of fantasizing himself in a situation. And Dragon, like one of the biggest criticisms I've heard with this movie in regards to critics, and I must say, this movie, it feels like it's landing with fans like us, you, me, and Donovan, a lot more than it's landing with critics. I think critics are just kind of like taking the media and they're afraid to say good things about it, which I think is a shame.
Yeah.
We as fans can appreciate it. But anyways, what I was getting at is that one of the big criticisms with this movie is like, oh, this movie like resorts to too many like twists and and honestly, it's all set up right in that opening scene with Arthur in the audience, and Murray giving Arthur the approval and having him on stage and everything. You know what I mean? Like that right there kind of sets the stage where it's like, okay, Arthur is definitely like an unreliable narrator, and anything that's going on in his head, you can't completely rely on.
Yeah, because for a moment it's a question of flashback versus fantasy, and obviously I'm fantasy.
Exactly, yeah.
Certainly, very, very King of Comedy S2, just very much kind of a Rupert Pumpkin, Pumpkin, just kind of the basically the dream of like, oh man, if only it would be like that, if only Jerry Lewis would be my buddy.
Right.
Kind of in this case, what if Murray Franklin basically spotted me? What if I had like this beautiful chance interaction with him, like a 1 in a million shot, like, you were picked out in the audience again? Tiki, I want to reemphasize this: he's picked out in the audience essentially because of his laugh, but also because like, oh, I love you, Murray.
Yeah. All right. Okay, so I think now we can get into the one bad day, right?
Yes, so basically let's go through. So again, the one bad day, of course, those are kind of famous words in the tomes of the Joker as a character. One bad day. So basically, one day really sets off our chain of events as to what really, basically, what kind of kickstarts our story here. When Arthur Fleck really begins to go on the Joker metamorphosis, basically the events that put everything into play.
Okay, so one of my favorite moments that kind of just absolutely rides that line between hilarious and super uncomfortable is the children's hospital scene.
Yes, and again, this is the balance, Tiki. Again, where he is enjoying being basically when he's a clown. Again, he's being a clown, and that he enjoys making people laugh in whatever he can. So at least in a job he's really doing to pay the bills, to pay for his mother's care and everything. He's still trying to make people laugh and kind of embody his dream in kind of a smaller capacity. And he does like kids.
Yeah.
He does. There's their innocence. Again, they're the closest thing to innocence he has in Gotham. It's like the closest thing of like just kind of like what if there's
I
civility.
honestly think there's a little bit of a Michael Jackson influence to the way he relates to kids, because as we learn later on, he was kind of robbed of a childhood himself. You know what I mean?
Sure, and also just the general naivete. Let's just
Exactly. Right.
sure. That's the thing. As we see, Arthur has no malice towards children. That's important.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Arthur he entertains kids. Therefore, he has no being a good clown. Initially, the way things are, he's a good clown at first. Of course, basically using the gun that he was given by Randall, kind of slips out. And he's trying to sell it as a prop gun, but nobody believes that. And unfortunately, it's right here with the firing. I love that again. He is kind of he's enjoyed it work, but again, there's a distance there, and people basically because of that uncomfortable aspect to Arthur. There, basically, he kind of has these silences and the laughter and everything. I'm sure it puts people off at the workplace. I love that it's just this mundane, it's just the sad mundanity where those street kids they took the sign, they beat him, they broke the sign right on top of his head, and they beat the crap out of him when they mugged him. The boss wouldn't believe, like basically he couldn't sell, like I told you I was mugged, and they took the sign. Like who takes a sign? It's BS. No one ever take the sign, and he has to return the sign. That's why he's like in trouble with the job rate. That's going to be taken out of his pay. Just the sad stuff that leads up to the firing, and of course a job that does literally mean a lot to him here. Pays the bills and is kind of has a great significance to him, is taken from him, and it's just that's the big kicker, and then things just get worse from there.
Oh yeah. Okay, so then we have the big subway scene, which is, like I said, Dragon, the scene that everyone was like fucking terrified of, and look who's the target of the scene.
Yep. I did love how they were singing "Send in the Clowns." I did, like, I really
that was creepy as hell, and I love how the lighting plays into that moment as well.
So let me talk about the subway. And so the subway.
Well, you do that. I'm going to check in with Donovan because he's been on fire in the chat.
Yeah, sure.
Right.
What I love about the subway in this movie, especially the way, as Tiki mentioned, is the way we shoot it here, is that the subway is the ultimate symbol of Gotham in this movie. Again, especially it's very New Yorkian Gotham here, where it's the ultimate symbol of Gotham and crime, because all of our major crimes, all of our major kind of events, all the major moments within the metamorphosis of Arthur Joker here do happen within the subway. It's confined. You're in a confined space. There's a lot of confinement there. You have a lot of people are there, and a lot of cruelty. Again, the cruelty within Gotham is kind of escalated. Of course, horrible things happen on subways all the time, whether it be kind of more illicit stuff or sometimes violent crimes. Especially if you go back to the 80s.
Failed station.
Exactly. Or again, what they're literally going for here, very much a Bernie Getz sort of situation here. We're gonna, basically you're accosted by people and you shoot them on the subway. And basically, what we do with this is Arthur is kind of heralded in essence as kind of the Bernie Getz vigilante version of Batman, as this kind of the clown mask becomes the new kind of the symbol of kind of taking the power from the rich people that got shot, who of course were Wayne employees, by the way, like they had like Wayne scholarships or something. They were involved. I know they were like part of like a Wayne charity thing of some variety. These future Wall Street jerks from Wayne Enterprise.
Yeah, and I love how the violence in this movie is minimal but visceral. That's
I
just
know,
a great
right?
choice.
And literally the same thing. The visceral, yeah.
Yeah.
Those gunshots, there's a resonance there again, because we see violence all the time in things. Again, you see God knows how many people get killed in
John Wick.
Sure, John Wick. You'll look at a fun. Like, Deadpool's more of a funny version. So maybe let's just
Yeah.
being like John Wick. John Wick, it's action for the sake of
headshot.
Bam! He killed a guy with a book. But no, in all seriousness, though, again, like we kind of see that all the time. We kind of trivialize it, but here again, like essentially there's 8 to 9 murders in this movie. Mm-hmm. Again, that's not. It's not like they're well planned out too. They're just kind of spontaneous, but the way they happened. Again, there's a resonance. There's that visceral thing you kind of feel in the theater too. Just, oh man, this is an event. This means something. And that's how you do violence, especially if you want to make it kind of apply to the story. It's not taking any shots at John Wick.
I mean, the way I see it, a scene with violence that's supposed to make you uncomfortable, that does its job in making you uncomfortable, I don't see what's bad in that.
That's the point.
That's good filmmaking as far as I'm concerned.
Honestly, that's kind of the big misunderstanding. It's not glorifying violence, it's showing you the horror of violence.
Exactly.
Again, I'm not taking any shots at John Wick. That's an action movie. That's very much different. This is not an action movie. That's the difference. All right. So as I mentioned, he's become the Bernie Getz vigilante, and this importantly, this kind of inspires Arthur. Arthur's kind of on the upswing after this, so it's very fascinating that each violent act, especially as they begin to mount through the course of the movie, he gets a twinge of happiness, or again, he kind of slowly unravels the mystery of like what makes him laugh, like what basically him us the audience discovering why does he laugh, outside of like the physical condition that we're told at the beginning of the movie. Mm-hmm. He flirts with happiness.
Yeah, of course, this is where the Zazie Beetz character comes into play.
Yeah, so
Dragon, all I will say about her for right now is that at first I thought she was going to be the most generic and implausible thing in the movie, and she was not. That's all I'll say for now.
I know that.
So basically, when she starts out, it's just like, really, like this girl is just going to fall for this weird guy, and why does he have the support system? He has done nothing to earn the support system.
And I was just going along with it initially because so much bad stuff's happened to him, and again, it's a guy looking for hope, a guy looking just for simple civility in Gotham. He kind of finds it through another. Basically, I kind of wrote it off as, maybe she's unconventional too. Because it feels like she initiated with the whole bang, the kid wants me to want to blow my brains out motion.
Right. Yeah,
I'm writing it off as that, but of course there's a better reason for it later on, which we'll get
to. All right. Let's see. This
is like when he's calling out the therapist and everything too. Point being, overall, he's accepting his flaws, like the negative thoughts, like all the things that he's been kind of judging himself.
All I have are negative thoughts.
Like everything he's written in the journal, which, by the way, I like that we literally had a Joker journal in a movie. A little nod to Heath Ledger Joker journal, and figured out the role there. So that's kind of clever. So I love the fact that basically he's accepting. He's slowly but surely, again, as we get to the best, basically get building to Act 3, he's accepting more and more of the flaws that he's kind of held up against. Like he's going to get to the point where he's not going to be the guy pulling out the card to explain what's wrong with them. Like he was at the beginning of the movie. It's kind of like that shifting where we only see that card. We see it in Act 1. We had a reference in Act 2, and we don't see it again. Of course, he's pursuing a stand-up career, and it's like he's going to pursue his dream very actively now. But again, to make others laugh as he does. Again, the laughing thing continues. Anyway.
Some of the most unsettling scenes in the movie are him doing the rehearsals for the stand-up.
Yeah.
They're just unsettling because it's basically just like an inherently flawed and broken man rehearsing to be normal.
Oh yeah. Of course, I mean him studying the stand-up too. That's the thing where he has like the off-kilter laugh, where basically he's laughing at the wrong points of the joke.
Right.
So you were looking at some Donovan stuff. Anything you wanted to mention?
No, he's mostly just agreeing with us. So
Okay, well at least we're on the right
yeah,
path.
yeah.
All right, I guess we should, unless you want to stick on the stand-up a little bit more, we can go to the next thing.
Yeah, let's transition.
All right, so let's talk about the Wayne family affair, as it were. Let's dive a little bit deeper into the whole Thomas Wayne Penny thing. So Thomas Wayne's in
Yes, and he's kind of a bastard.
Yes, he is. Yes, he is.
But by the same point, Dragon, imagine if you had an old employee working for you and she was like stalking you for decades, insisting that you were the father of a kid that you very clearly saw she adopted. And just, I mean, Dragon, honestly, like when you break down the Thomas Wayne stuff in relationship to the Fleck family, I think he's rather sympathetic. I think he becomes a bastard when you break down all of the stuff about, like the social class hierarchy and what he's doing just in general with his politics. You know what I mean?
Tiki, I'm really interested to get your take on this because, of course, as I kind of mentioned, the whole clown vigilante thing got started, and of course, it's very interesting. Thomas Wayne, he basically called the lower tier of society clowns because he blamed that murder on them. Because again, high society got killed by kind of like lower society. So, I mean, how did you feel it had turned out? Because I believe you were. I'm not saying you were like completely closed off to the idea, but basically had the whole thing unfolded with kind of getting a kind of a.
Okay, you know what I like the most about it is that it all happens in the background. I mean, I think that's a really smart move. It's happening via news footage and just kind of like background extras in scenes and stuff like that. And there's nothing that like the movie just kind of like gradually builds that stuff up. It doesn't make a huge point out of it.
Yeah, like he's not handing out
or something does.
Yeah, like Arthur's not handing out flyers or anything. It's not like
exactly.
Again, he's not doing it. It's just happening around because of something that he did, though.
Right. So I thought that was a very natural way to handle that for sure.
So yes, of course. So as we mentioned, so Penny's been talking to Thomas Wayne as a good man, and essentially we find out that Thomas Wayne is possibly. So again, this is an interesting reveal. Initially, I was thinking, oh man, are they going to go this route? Because yeah, it was kind of it walked the line of something really interesting, but also kind of like another '89 thing, which I'm gonna piggyback on that later on. Believe you me, I'm gonna piggyback on the '89 point, but. Basically, the idea Arthur may be Thomas Wayne's son, and again, on one level, it's kind of an interesting parallel. That, okay, Batman and Joker kind of might be somewhat related by blood. That's kind of interesting.
Yeah. I'm glad they didn't go that route. I'm glad they made it a twist, but it is interesting that they flirted with that notion.
It's almost like a Snyder thing. It's almost like a good Snyder, New York Snyder. Again, we're in New York movie. Might as well say New York Snyder. My point is, it's kind of like like a Court of Owls thing, or Bruce Wayne may or may not have a brother, and the jury's kind of out, but I think we're kind of skewing towards he probably doesn't have a brother, And that's kind of what we do here, where again, basically it could have come off really contrived. By the same token, the movie again, it was doing such a good job. Again, I would have given it a few brownie points. I don't know if I've been in love with it by the time the movie ended, but again, it went a better place with it than I was thinking it could have gone. But importantly, like this gives us a moment here where Arthur thinks that this is true because he's putting stock in his mother. There's no reason to doubt his mother, and he's going to the Wayne. He visits Bruce Wayne. This is a very, of course, we saw like a brief shot of this, but the way the scene plays out again, Arthur has no malice towards children. This kid might be his brother, so he's trying to make an olive branch. He's like, hey. Because he's just going there, just has a little interaction with the kid. And of course, such a trippery interaction. Again, kind of our proto Joker and our proto Batman for the pieces having this bizarre interaction.
And then, Dragon, we get a character that I was not expecting to be in this movie.
Alfred.
Yes. I must say, Dragon, this Alfred didn't really make a big impact on me.
Well, that's really supposed to, anyways.
I know.
There's only so much you can do.
He's not a bad Alfred. But he doesn't really stick with you.
I mean, look, he basically, he wards off. He protects the kid. That's what he does.
Yeah.
That's really all I can ask. Without him only in one scene, it's really all I can do. Like you don't see him throw Arthur out in the later scene. So it's pretty much all we kind of. It was really startling. I do love. This is what I love. This moment where where Arthur almost strangles Alfred to death. Though he almost he chokes Alfred
Right.
out when Alfred's basically trying to. Alfred breaks the bad news to him that Penny Fleck's not right in the head, and she basically has been kind of accosting Thomas Wayne, thinking that she was the child. I love that Alfred admitted Penny was mentioned because he knows the staff, he knows everybody. So he's like, oh no, Penny, that's a whole thing. No, you're not Tom, you're not his son. And I love that he doesn't kill Alfred because of Bruce. And again, it's like there's one of those little moments, again, like one of those little nexus of the universe things where, oh god, that moment where Bruce and essentially our Joker here, this moment where the Joker shows a great swell of humanity in the grand scheme of things. He doesn't kill Alfred for Bruce. It's kind of interesting.
Yeah. And it's very interesting that, of course, Bruce Wayne and the Joker are already like tied together through fate right from the very beginning.
Absolutely. So then we go to the Chaplin screening, which, of course, is kind of the smile of it all. Just, of course, very much given cause with the Chaplin movie being played.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, we hear from Thomas Wayne himself that she was crazy, and I think Tyler's thing. I think Thomas Wayne he's unsympathetic in how he handles the situation here. You're right that he's probably been accosted. He's probably been accosted by her, and it is something that he would have to deal with. But still, like Arthur's like, I'm not in for the money, not in for any of this stuff. And but again, he did come to his house. And he put his fingers in his kid's mouth. So there's some gray area there for sure. There's. I mean, it's just Arthur yet again looking for decency and hope in Gotham, and even the Wayne family lets him down. The Wayne family lets him down for God knows how many movies.
No.
The Wayne family, they built the trains, they have the charities, they have everything, and yet again, like, oh man, they're creating the Joker in essence here.
Right. Yeah, and I love how Arthur just kind of like is able to slip into that screening, get the Utcher costume on, find Thomas's balcony, sess out when he's leaving and going into the hallway. It's all very methodical.
And again, very kind of mixture of old school comedy. It's a little bit of Jerry Lewis, the bellboy, and kind of Chaplin-esque. Chaplin is basically putting on a disguise as the tramp and just getting in somewhere. It's a little bit
Sure.
But again, there's something kind of foreboding about it at the same time. There's that balance. So in meeting Thomas Wayne, he kind of gets he basically mentions that she was committed in Arkham. So of course that brings us to and it mentions that he was adopted. So he drops a bombshell on him too, tells him that he was adopted. That, again, a woman that is basically dedicated so much of his time and his life to, and then the fact that he's basically stuck. He's just kind of at a dead end job just to support her and take care of her, and he's put some extra burden on himself. Already a sad guy. All of this, and the adoption is quite the bombshell. So he goes to Arkham. So this is a big part. He goes to Arkham. Of course, you say those words, it's Arkham. It's a big deal to Joker. So we meet Brian Tyree Henry's character, and of course, Brian Tyree Henry for the kids out there. Miles Morales' dad, Jefferson Davis from Spider-Verse. Yep. Nice guy, and I love that he was the closest thing we have to I think he's the only really. He's the only decent person we have in the movie, if you really think about it. He's the only kind of closest thing to decency in Gotham, where he doesn't want to tell him the bad news. I love that he's the only closest thing to a nice guy in the whole movie.
Yeah, and the way he interacts with Arthur is very he sees that this guy has an issue, and he kind of feels bad that there's not more he can do to help him. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. So of course he takes the file. He takes the file. He runs away, reads it, and he finds out that not only was he adopted, he was basically in essence. At least my read on, unless you got something different, Tiki, is that basically the abuse caused his mental illness.
Yeah, the read I got on it is that not only did the abuse cause the mental illness, it also caused him to pretty much black out his whole childhood.
Yeah. And also, of course, this is kind of the beginning. His mother was in such a horrible relationship, and of course, he was abused as well. So she was in such a horrible relationship. That's why she kind of idolized kind of this perfect father for Arthur. That would be like Thomas Wayne is your real father. I worked there, and that's why she basically tried to idealize. She was in such a sad, depressing situation. Again, she came up with a fiction, much like Arthur. This movie, like we saw with the Murray thing earlier on. He's kind of hallucinating certain things. He's kind of idealizing certain events, and presumably maybe that's kind of something that maybe it was kind of in a similar situation they both developed, perhaps.
Right.
And of course, the other revelation we have.
Oh boy! So yeah, Dragon. After you found something out like that, If you're in a relationship, you would hope that you would be able to go to your to your partner's house and be able to have a shoulder to cry on. And I feel like that's Arthur's mentality here when he slips into Zazie Beetz' apartment. But then what is the reality, Dragon?
Well, the reality, and reality is that his delusions. I don't know if they've gotten worse because he's not taking his medication anymore. I don't know if that's why we get her in the first place, but the fact that the medication's gotten worse and we find out she was not real at all. Every scene she was in, essentially, she was just kind of added to the scene. We've seen like an extra glimpse where if she.
Okay, the read I have on it is that the interaction they had in the elevator was real.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah,
like
that is real.
that one pleasantry they have of like the bang moment, that was real.
That is real.
But then everything after that was in his head.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. That's
based on that one moment of like kind of like what's the word? The one moment of just connection.
Yeah, I believe she may have gotten his name in that scene, if I remember correctly. Basically, as they were like walking down the hallway, she said Sophie, Arthur, and then he walked off. So basically, that's all the information she knows, and he's in her apartment, just sitting there. Of course, she has a kid in the apartment too. And bear in mind, we don't see her again, so it's quite. Remember, if I'm remembering correctly, this is after he killed his mother, which we should also mention too. So that it's a big moment. He kills his mother.
Yeah, it is after he kills his mother. Yes, he definitely he RP McMurphy's his mother, as I like to call it.
So the point is, like, this is him getting to an absolute. This is very much him getting to an absolute low point here, where he has killed his mother, who again has lied to him and everything. But I love how murder is kind of his way of it's another step towards self-acceptance of being the Joker. It's kind of a big step closer. Some people have brought this up, and I do agree with them. When he kills his mother, he becomes the Joker.
Yeah, I agree.
That's him erasing Arthur Fleck from himself. That's him erasing, that person. Basically, like any hope he had after that scene of like not becoming the Joker was with the reveal that the whole relationship was a delusion. The whole relationship was kind of like an idealized version of it. What if you met her and what if she showed up at the comedy club? What the comedy club went great. That's the thing. When we're at the comedy club, everything is with this hallucination. Oh yeah, all these bits are going great, and I'm wondering watching that movie. Like, yeah, I mean, you think she'd bring it up to him that he bombed. But again, he apparently didn't. At least in his mind. So I was wondering if they were going to touch on that, and we did with that moment.
And it's kind of like a Sixth Sense thing where it's like when you see her at the comedy club, she's not with anyone. She's kind of just in a back corner. When you see her at the hospital, she doesn't interact with any nurses or anything,
Yeah, and in that hospital scene, too, in basically when he kills his mother, I believe he has the line where he says the laughing effect. That's where he kind of realizes the PLC was never real. At least now again, I don't know if literally that's the case or just him saying that. The point being is he defines it. He's redefining that condition where basically he laughs because again it's essentially it's the Joker laughing in inappropriate times and basically kind of putting crimes into play. That's kind of what the Joker does.
Right.
Basically, he'll laugh at. The Joker finds very sadistic things. Really,
he's essentially like recontextualizing his condition to fit its purpose.
Exactly, and that precisely. So, speaking of his purpose, that brings us to kind of the big third act of it all here with all the big.
Hello, Murray.
Murray, I love it. Just
Murray. That was an acting choice that I was not expecting.
Oh boy, so God, there's a lot of good stuff here. So first of all, of course, we have to talk a little bit more about King of Comedy. Of course, King of Comedy, De Niro, and then of course, De Niro was great in this movie, don't you think?
In my opinion, the best Martin Scorsese movie.
Great one. Not the best in my opinion, but it's a great one. I'm saying there's a lot of competition, so that's why.
So I don't know what else to say about the King of Comedy other than it is very much kind of like a mirror image of that movie, except, I would say that Jerry Lewis has a lot more screen time in King of Comedy than Robert De Niro does in this movie.
But again, the way we keep building Murray up in each act, and the way
Murray.
Exactly, and I love basically De Niro. I think he's so great in this movie. I love how he's playing it very Carson-esque. Very much the stage looks very much like the Johnny Carson show with this colored curtain and everything. Looks identical to it. He's very kind of song and dancey. And as we mentioned, that great fantasy scene. I love how each act we set up. Think about this. In Act 1, we set up that fantasy scene, which we've already gone over. we kind of see a little, in some sense. You can tell me if I'm crazy here. I kind of saw that when he was caught up on stage and everything, he was kind of brought him like for the little whisper hug and everything. He was saying, "Hey, you're doing like, hey, welcome on stage," or something like he said something to him. It's kind of there's a bit of a father figure thing. I think he kind of looks at him as a father figure, where this guy kind of grows up without a father, and there's kind of the whole Thomas Wayne story of it all. I kind of viewed it in some, at least in the beginning, he may have idealized him, like maybe I know he's not my father, but if he were, might be a good day.
Yeah.
Act 2 was a huge moment with Murray, where of course Act 2 is when Arthur's mom goes to the hospital.
Sure.
And because of his actions, because of the cops interrogate her, and essentially she goes down. And there, of course, like his big moment, his big break, where his clips of his stand up are used on the Murray Franklin show. And of course, this essentially is like a capper to a one bad day. One could argue it's not the bad day, but it's just like, oh god, the thing you fantasized, I idealized about, the closest semblance you had to a happy moment with your mother and everything, of you being a success. And every comedian dreams of going on the Johnny Carson show, Tiki, as you probably know. So this is like his fantasy, and he's essentially is on the Johnny Carson show via Murray Franklin here, and he's mocked. And he's basically said, your dreams are never going to come true. He says that on live television and with his mother essentially on her deathbed practically. And it's like, oh, God, and like that. And that's Act 2. And then we get to Act 3 where he's on the show. That's a great 3-act kind of build-up for Murray.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. So I love him getting there. It's just kind of this bloody trail of getting to the Murray Franklin show. I love it's kind of initially kind of like, we got to get to the Murray Franklin show because he's offered a spot on there so they can mock him more.
Yeah.
Is yet again recontextualized things to like he's going to off himself on live air.
And tell me what your read on this is, Dragon. But I got the sense that like when Murray was, introducing him and kind of like being like, oh, this guy's kind of like just underhanding him throughout the whole interview. That's when he switched gears. Like he went in planning to kill himself, but there's definitely like throughout that interview, things switched.
It's funny. Initially, I thought the exact thing, but I did have a thought.
Okay.
In the movie, there's a very specific shot, and I think this shot I think this is the moment. So I think your way still works, and that's probably overall. I mean, he was probably inching towards it because of that. I'm saying it's probably in the back of that idea with that moment, but. When he goes for the joke, remember the joke that he goes to in his book is, "If I wish my death's gonna make more sense, change in death than it would in life," and that's the suicide joke. He would say that, then he would kill himself. But he doesn't read that joke, and he flips to a different one. I think that's the moment where he decides, "I'm not gonna."
What's interesting about that though is that when he's rehearsing the thing, he does do the knock knock joke and then kills himself.
Right. So I mean, again, it's there's a few moments. There's a few moments.
Yeah.
It's interesting, but again, like I love we got to the bloody trail again because that's the big Randall scene.
Oh shit! Yeah. Okay. The Randall scene. I don't know. For my money, that might be the best scene in the movie.
So yet again, visceral violence. Again, not just for the sake of violence, but for the sake of he's one of your favorite things from the trailers. He's getting the makeup on. He's dyeing his hair. He's getting ready, and of course, interrupt this from Randall and Gary. Of course, Gary being the the shorter fellow.
Oh my God! So Gary's reaction to this might be one of the most disturbing scenes in the whole film. I mean, it's just like that's the thing that Dragon, like the violence itself is horrific. But I think what really sells it is just how horrified Gary is about the whole ordeal.
I will argue that the Gary moment at the end with the door, quite possibly the Joker moment in all of cinema.
I will say that moment with the door, yeah, it blends the comedy and the horror just beautifully.
As in, like, the most Joker-like moment. Basically, Joker, of course, when done properly, is an unpredictable guy. The best example of an unpredictable move by the Joker, quite possibly, is that moment.
You have to wonder if he just intentionally locked the door just to give Gary a fake out,
It's a good question because again, he didn't just close the door; he had the relock, so he did have to think about that. So. Oh boy! So it's just so good, just him him just killing Randa. Randa basically is following up on the whole, like, I gave you the gun. And of course, the cops are asking around, like, don't they? Of course, just, oh, guys, it's not the fact that he honestly kills him with the stabbing, but then he just beats him, beats him on the edge of the door just mercilessly.
Yeah.
It's crazy. It's the body on there is Gary's. Now, here's the funny thing. Gary, I think Gary's a deep cut Joker reference too, by the way. Gary, Paul Dini, sorry, let me rephrase this. In the early years of the Batman comics, the Joker had Joker has a few comedy henchmen. In this case, he had one named Gaggy. And Gaggy, I want to say Paul Dini created all this. Basically, he looked at it like an old Batman comic, then he basically did a better story with it. I want to say that's what happened. Basically, Paul Dini had the idea of what if Joker had his own Harley Quinn before Harley Quinn. That was with this Gaggy character, who was a little person, who's basically kind of his sidekick, his wing guy. And that's kind of what Gaggy maybe it's a light homage to like what Gaggy could be. I don't know. It's the idea of like this, like Joker having kind of like a Bob the Goon type in the form of this little person, perhaps. Just, in the sense of like, Gary, you were always nice to me, and he kisses him on the forehead and he locks the door and lets him go. Which is great. And again, it's Denny O'Neil's old adage with the Joker of Joker he could pay you $1 million because he likes your shoes, or he can kill you because you liked your shoes. He's completely unpredictable.
Right.
That sort of thing. You don't know what's going to happen. But this one time, it's like from that moment going on, it's just again like each murder is making him more and more the Joker. Because after this, he's in the suit, he's wearing the full makeup. It's the whole ensemble, and then he's chased by the cops. He's chased by he's chased by Burke and Garrity, and not Gordon Bullock by any stretch, by the way. I was listening.
I wish it were Gordon Bullock. How amazing would it be if it was Gordon?
Well, he would have been beaten near death, so I'm glad it wasn't Gordon. But again, they could have gotten away with it in the movie. So then, the point we get this pursuit that yet again takes us to the subway, the very same that created him.
Yes.
Of course, subway, big prominent symbol, and we get to see this time around. Take two on the subway, his influence on Gotham, all these people in clown masks going to yet another rally, and they beat the system down after the system again shoots kind of an innocent person in the crowd, and they essentially get beaten near to death. And again, he gets to get away scot-free. And again, I love this is getting to the core of what the whole film is getting into, the big thing we're about to talk about with the Murray Show. So you do a movie, anything, of course, we talk about this all the time, Harley Quinn, the Joker versus the Real World, which is a show I'd recommend to everybody, especially you, Donovan. If you like the Joker, you got to look at Harley Quinn, the Joker versus the Real World. I'll just giggle it. Anyway, point being, like Denny O'Neil or like anyone does, when you take a solo Joker story, you kind of make the world around him or the people around him kind of worse by comparison. That's how Joker can be the hero of his own story. Hero in the loose sense. Again, it doesn't have to make him a hero, but by comparison, that's why I can get away with things scot-free, and you're kind of in some sorts like it's nothing you're rooting for him, but you want to see where he goes. You want to see where it all goes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Of course, that brings us to the big moment here, the big sit down, the big interview.
So yeah, like we already kind of teased up, Dragon, I fucking love the choice on Joaquin Phoenix's part to make his actual Joker voice like super flamboyant and over the top. I don't know. There's just something about it. It's just like, again, like we keep harping on it, Dragon, but it's that kind of like that it's unsettling but hilarious at the same time.
Oh yeah. Of course, of
course he gives the doctor the big like kiss on the lips.
Okay, now Tiki, I love that moment for you know why I love that moment, don't you?
I assume it's a reference to a real moment from the Johnny Carson show.
No. Okay, Dark Knight Returns, big moment in the comic for Dark Knight Returns. I didn't put this in the animated one, but that's probably why you're a little pumping. Dark Knight Returns, and this whole thing going into the marketing, and the marketing was so good in this movie, and the fact that talk show thing where basically you see like send in the clowns, where you see him dancing, getting ready to go up on stage. That whole thing, the biggest question going in the movie, I think Kevin Smith also had the same thing because he's a huge fan of Dark Knight Returns. It's like, of course, Joker very famously goes on a talk show and he kills the whole audience and basically causes chaos on live TV, which is basically kind of like a takeoff from the Letterman show and Conan O'Brien the animated movie. Point being, Joker on the talk show said about to do something horrible. So this to me was the most tension I felt in the entire movie. Going into this movie, this is the biggest expectation I had for the whole film. Like, oh God, he's going to go on that. What is he going to do on stage? Of course, getting in the movie, we thought, okay, is he going to end him? Is he going to kill himself on live TV, or is he going to do like what is going to change that moment for him, or what is going to happen? And he walks out and is already very much Dark Knight Returns in concept. But when he kissed Dr. Ruth, and I think it was the same name too. I think they take off of the actual Dr. Ruth or whatnot. Kissed Dr. Ruth right on the lips. That's from Dark Knight Returns, where basically he had Joker Venom lipstick and he kissed Dr. Ruth and she died in the comics. But the point is, like, he's just kissing her like that just by complete surprise. It's like, oh god, they're going so Dark Knight Returns with that's awesome. Losing my mind. And again, just to me, this the most. I got to tell you, I had such adrenaline pump in that scene all over. And the fact that they kept going, and you think it wasn't just like an instant action. It wasn't just like it was like, do guests get to keep these? Breaks the coffin. Like, it wasn't simply like that. It was like, oh god, what is he? It's the interview keeps going on. He really just kind of chews Gotham out for for essentially creating him, for basically kicking a guy while he's down, for just like no.
I will say, like, probably the least realistic moment in the movie is when he does come clean about being the subway killer, and the interview just keeps going on.
I gotta be honest, though, it's a moment I could only buy from De Niro, where De Niro would let that go on, where he would just chat up the guy about that. Though it's a buy, but
I don't not buy it from De Niro. I don't buy the fact that the producers would let it stay on air.
Well, I will argue this.
I'll chalk it up to a we don't care.
You're right. It is a we don't care, but I will say this. With Mark Maron, we had that scene Mark Maron where already it's like he already looks at the political state. We don't want to do that. Murray kind of has some pull there. He says, let him go on. Kind of have that. Of course, that's the big, like, can you introduce me as Joker? And it's already signed like you called me Joker that one time. I love that he's taking ownership of all these things. He's taking ownership of he's very song and dancey now. He's going down the stairs, the whole shebang. He's accepting.
That moment with the stairs is great, and I love how the stairs is another symbol, much like the subway.
Because again, like the dreary everyday life, he kept going up those stairs with that slouchy walk every day. Now it's like he's owning those stairs. He's owning those freaking stairs, man. Stair master, one could say. Oh no, but all seriousness, it's but again, like he's owning these aspects of his life, but he's recontextualized them as the Joker. It's bringing him like a better semblance of happiness. Where now it's like, you called me a Joker. You said my life stream was a joke, therefore I am a joke. But now he turns in a different way once he makes that decision. I'm not going to kill myself on air. I'm going to kill Murray, which he does. He just shoots Murray right in the head after he basically cues up.
And this is one of the most shocking moments of violence I've seen in a movie in some time. And honestly, it's kind of like, it's the one time where I'm just like, okay, I can see why people are kind of freaked out by this movie.
But again, like the resonance and how visceral it is. Just again, like the echoes of the shot and the fact that we linger on it. That's the thing. Again, it just, all of it feels very well earned and with purpose. And
it absolutely feels well earned, no doubt about that.
It feels very much like an experience. I don't want to say like a traumatizing experience, like some critics might lead you to believe. But seriously, it
is a traumatizing experience. I don't see what's so bad about that. It's an experience that drains you, man. It's an experience that makes you feel like you went through something. But like I said, I don't get how a movie like let's say Requiem for a Dream, for example, could just be a critical darling. And Dragon, I will say Requiem for a Dream is just, as much as Joker is a disturbing movie, Requiem for a Dream is a movie that I never want to sit through again in my life. And I can't wait to see the Joker again. So it's like, there are like Passion of the Christ, for example. You know what I mean? It's like, there's tons of movies out there that are designed to make you feel uncomfortable. I don't get why this is, anyways, I'm going down a political road here that I don't want to go down, but.
Well, you see what I mean, though. When I say traumatizing, I mean like people saying like you shouldn't see the movie type of traumatizing. But
that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
I absolutely agree with your point though about how traumatizing doesn't necessarily bad thing, because that's the thing. I was feeling that such swell of anxiety. Honestly, I didn't know I was going to make it through the movie, not because the horrible stuff, just because like, oh god, I don't know if I'm going to be able to take all this anticipation.
No, I mean that's the thing, and even like I already kind of said with the laughing, even very early on, like as early as the train scene, the first train scene with the little kid and the mother and the laughing dragon, I like that early on into the movie, I was having that same sort of thought of like, oh man, like this is going to be a rough sit, not in the way of like a rough sit being like a bad movie, but just in terms of like this movie is just it's just kind of a, like I said, just gets under your skin. It really does, from top to bottom.
Yeah. So one of the comments, Space Mountain, he asked, "You think we should address the weight thing?" Of course, you lost a lot of weight for this movie.
First of all, Space, nice to see you here. Thanks for joining us. I mean, the best comparison I can make for it is it's definitely a machinist type transformation.
Or if you want another Scorsese thing, it's kind of like De Niro losing all the weight and putting all the weight back. Because kind of what Spaceman brings up here is he looks like, I think it's an illusion, honestly, with the performance. He says like he put on, he looks like he gained weight as the Joker, which I mean I don't think it went that far with it, but I think he feels more like he's living life. He's more vivacious in life than he is just kind of like as like kind of a guy who's just like so starved and kind of malnourished from like all this the depressing nature of things. Like a guy's probably like he's losing a few meals. They put food in his mouth every night. You know?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And also another element of the film, just kind of a general element, is like, oh my god, there's so many cigarettes being smoked throughout the movie.
Yeah, that's not helping him either. Yeah. Yeah, Vince Gilligan would love this movie. Not one because it's a great movie. Secondly, because of all the smoking. Vince
Yes,
Gilligan
yes.
very in support of smoking in TV and film.
All right, so we're kind of veering up towards the end here.
Oh, well, let's talk about kind of the beginnings of not. I say beginnings in the plural sense for very good reasons. Of course, Murray's killed, and it's kind of broadcast everywhere on live TV. And of course, Gotham being the places they're going to allow like an execution. They're gonna bleep the curse, but they're going to allow the gunshot. Of course, that's Gotham for you. Honestly, it's kind of the censors today. You can't get away with an F-bomb, but now
That's what I'm saying. That's why this whole movie kind of has like a little bit of a Clockwork Orange style vibe, where it's like it's just kind of like on the fringes of what real society is like.
absolutely. So of course, you get what you effing deserve, Murray. Bang. So let's see. So of course he is a Joker is arrested. He's basically put in a cop car, and we kind of again a little bit of a Heath Ledger homage, perhaps, just like him, kind of mirror the cop car shot. He's basically looking out the window. I think the direct thing is how Arthur was looking out on the bus very sadly. Now he's looking outside, very content with himself as the Joker. I think it's a more direct parallel, but maybe a little bit of Ledger, fingerprints on there. I don't know.
Sure.
Being as he sees Gotham. As he drives away, he sees Gotham being driven mad like it did to him. So again, the city is kind of collapsing in on itself, rioting and fire everywhere, and then Joker's very very satisfied with himself. Then we have a moment that I kind of called this, but again, as I'm talking about, I don't care that I called. I wanted to live in the moment. Like, are they going to go this route? And they did, and it basically legitimized '89 in a sense here, where we did the Wayne murder in the midst of all the riots, the chaos, and I thought it was a brilliant move. And I was like, oh,
It makes a lot of sense. It ties the Waynes into the Joker without having the Joker be directly the person that kills the Waynes. So I thought that was definitely a masterstroke.
And it's a symbol of what Gotham's become, again, per the Joker. So that way, again, it's still Gotham committing the murder, but again, it's kind of Gotham. Again, Gotham created the Joker, and vice versa. Joker's now kind of like made a mark on Gotham, which kind of would dictate the next generation making another mark on Gotham to fix things.
Right.
Again, a movie that we never really need, but again, if there were one, that's probably what it would be. So that's the thing. So Joker, then things get even better, honestly. But again, take it with a grain of salt. So Wayne murder happens. And then, of course, like, you get what you effing deserve, and bam, bam, just again, the Wayne murders unfolds, just very, very tragic, but again, it's very well shot too. There's the minute, like, there's like the Zorro was a big reveal in this time around. You walk the corner, you see Zorro in the market, it's like it builds and builds, like, oh yes, we're going there. And you see this clown on the side. Oh boy! But then things get even better here, where Joker's and like we have this surprise, like as the cop car's going by, it's then like T-boned by an ambulance. Bam, and then he's freed by essentially his followers, by the army of clowns. They pull him out of the cop car, they put him on top of the thing, and they have this lauded by the crowd. And he uses the blood from the accident, turns it into a smile on his face.
That's great. I love that imagery.
And as on top of this, look, the whole Joker as the lead in this movie thing. This is the way the Joker's movie, if he were the lead character, would end, with all the adulation. But again, I know it's not the very end here, because this is where we got to take if the movie couldn't get any better, it does something like this. So Joker kind of is the hero of his own story, but we then see a scene in Arkham Asylum.
This is perfect, Dragon. This is a perfect fucking Looney Tunes madcap capper to the whole affair. Oh man.
So either time has passed and eventually he ends up in Arkham, as he probably would, because again, everyone knows who he is. They've seen him all around the place. He would end up in Arkham eventually, or perhaps just after the Murray. I'm saying the Murray stuff happened. It's just after that he was just directly without kind of the fanfare of everything we just saw. Again, it seems like a fantasy, basically kind of a more violent version of his Murray fantasy. Of like you're lauded by all the people that you've inspired. You put on a car, a big old smile on your face. How can it get any better? The Waynes are punished. Like how could it get any better than that? But he's thinking about that, and he's asking, what are you thinking of? Oh, you wouldn't get it. Where basically he's considering how the Wayne murder would have transpired if not he just saw it. Perhaps again he was looking out the window. He may have seen a little bit of it, or he's heard about it in the internet. Point being, he's imagining that moment play out, and essentially he's kind of laughing at the joke of like, Thomas Wayne kind of ruined my life, and in some regard, and of course broadly in regard to what he's done to the city and everything. Point being, he's ruined his life in some sense of the word, and like that's kind of what that's what I've caused. That's the pain I've caused him. Now he took away my dream of a family, and I've taken away his.
And he's essentially like, taking away Bruce Wayne's childhood.
Exactly. So again, he's just having kind of this funny thought, and she wouldn't get it. And it's a question of like how much of that was in his head. But regardless, whatever happens there, he then walks out of the room.
This is such a good final shot, Dragon. It's such a great final shot.
Here's the thing: I've seen this ending, but it's done better here. I love you. Force has a very similar ending, where it's kind of a fantasy, where it's kind of like it's kind of a prison setting, but here it's done even better. It's so fitting of the Joker. He walks out, bloody footprints, and he turns a corner, but then he's running at the other side, being chased. Classic Joker, classic Arkham shenanigans. Again, Joker ever the escape artist in a moment here, where he's a therapist because she didn't get the joke, and he's walking out.
Oh man!
But importantly, with all of that, with that ending, and just with that whole we don't know how much of that really kind of glorious, kind of like grand sweeping, horrific tragedy shot happened. But regardless, again, it's a little bit of unreliable narrator, a little bit you buy a little bit of the Killing Joke points back because all people are going the biggest, not the critics of like the violence of it all, but the critics of the giving Joker an origin heresy. Those critics are like, the Killing Joke's the best, and we're they're keeping it.
No, this is way better than the Killing Joke.
Well, that's the thing. People's looking at the age of like a multiple choice thing, where you do get some unreliable narrator. I'm not saying it's going to fix everything, but again, like we made him adopted, therefore it's not clear cut that his had a thing with his mother. It's the fact that there's unreliable bits, and I think we break happy for everybody at the end is what I'm saying. I think everybody should be satisfied with kind of our end.
I mean, I think the unreliable bits just make this movie all the more memorable. I am a big fan of movies with ambiguity, and this might be one of the most ambiguous movies in a while.
Exactly, and that's the thing of it, too. We get to kind of have our cake and eat it too. We get a little bit of touch of Killing Joke, but still, we have to tell the story we were very enamored in from the start. So it's there.
And then like that ending scene, the final shot, like you can almost go out on a that's all, folks. You
could. You could. Just for a moment, just so I can say here, I basically, if you wanted to speculate or anything, because DC, they've confirmed, I believe, they confirmed that Black, basically DC Black. See, in the comics right now, they have DC, the DC Black label, where they're telling more adult stories and stuff. And in the films, apparently, because of the success, and because they're really pleased with how this film is going, they're doing a line of like basically it's an Elseworlds line. I don't know why they're not just calling it Elseworlds, but they're calling it DC Black, and basically that means they can tell stories that are kind of be more in the line of like a Joker sort of thing.
Okay.
Stories that aren't going to be in whatever continuity they're trying to figure out, like the Wonder Woman and Aquaman going forward, I guess. Basically, stuff on the side will be DC Black like this. I believe that's an official announcement, but I'm saying it's something that's been talked about a lot by there, so.
All right. On that note, Dragon, this movie just do not give it a sequel. Yeah,
Tiki, let me put it this way. This movie does not need a sequel. I agree with you. Basically, the director shot it down. Everybody shot it down. But I will say this: I can't claim credit for this idea. One of our listeners, Kellen O'Rourke, I talked to a lot of the time. Kellen O'Rourke had a brilliant idea that if they were ever to do a sequel, which again they shouldn't want to do that, but if they ever did, there's only one idea I could ever get behind with a sequel. You want to know what it is?
What?
Only idea I could ever get behind after this movie would be we kind of go a kind of a fusion of a Batman Beyond route, where of course in Batman Beyond you have the group that is known as the Jokers. In this movie, we set up we set up all this kind of cult of the Joker. We set up very much kind of like the clown movement of it all. I'm saying we do a sequel. Don't bring back Joaquin Phoenix, but we have a Batman in a sequel. But it's basically Batman contending with like all these. The clown epidemic still survives. It still goes on. Maybe we'll have like a different guy putting on a Joker makeup. Hopefully, another good actor in the line of a Joaquin Phoenix. And it's got a little bit of a fusion of Gotham meets.
I mean, if you do that, I feel like you're kind of like Joaquin Phoenix is this movie.
That's the thing. So I'm not saying it's the best. I'm saying it's the only semblance of a sequel I could see that would continue with the whole the Wayne Murray ad at the end. That's the only way I could see any logic of getting a film that's still about the Joker's influence and the Joker and Batman's struggle.
Just doesn't seem like it'd be worth it without Joaquin, though.
And I hear you. I do. That's what I'm saying. Yeah, it's the only. You're right. The point being, this movie shouldn't get a sequel. Just that's the big headline here. No sequel for this movie.
All right, no sequel for you.
No sequel for you.
All right. Final thoughts, Dragon?
Final thoughts for me. I think it's a remarkable film. I think it's unfairly begrudged because of the kind of a climate of fear that we're living. I won't dwell on it too much. It's a bit of a climate of fear, especially just kind of out of nowhere in the last week or two of the movie, where people just clinged on to things. It's kind of run off the rails, and I think that's ridiculous because the movie. I say that because I feel bad for the people who didn't get to see this movie. This movie is really good. It's absolutely enthralling, even if you figured the direction of the story like we did from the trailers, even if you know where it's going, it's the execution that's really going to sell you, man. It's very much this movie's kind of Batman Begins for the Joker. It's very much a testament to the character, but also like how can we make a Joker origin, which in many circles is heresy? How can we make that a compelling story? And we did it. We cracked the code. This was an excellent movie. Very in favor of it.
All right, I'm going to actually read off my reaction coming out of the theater I posted on Facebook. Joker was a dark, disturbing, straight-up ugly parable that's flat-out uncomfortable to watch and will make your skin crawl. And I loved every minute of it. Let's see. Not looking for a political debate here, as I can absolutely see how people are getting affected by it. The movie is visceral as hell. As someone who loves subversive cinema, though, I can't help but think this thing is going to go down as a modern classic, a new Clockwork Orange, a disturbing and at times straight up dangerous piece of art, holding a microscope up to society. Holding a microscope up to the society it was released to. The one thing I'll argue with the political nature of it is this. There's not a thing in this movie that is glamorized. Arthur Fleck is not a nice guy. He's a creepy as hell, broken shell of a human being, and an utter ticking time bomb from the word go. This is certainly not a movie where you're cheering on the guy with the gun. All right, and that's it.
All right.
All right, thanks to Donovan for being in the comments along with us. Sorry I couldn't shout you out more. And thanks to Space for joining us as well. And we hope that this review goes over well. I mean, it's like you never know, Dragon, in this climate, we might be on some FBI blacklist at this point just for liking the movie. You know what I mean? So, I don't know. But yeah, in the meantime, see you guys later and have a good night, Murray.
That's life. That's what all the people say.